and welcome to the SoCal Yearbook Gal Education Series, designed to inspire, encourage, support, and make your life easier. This week, we are talking about all of the amazing things that you can do in the month of April. And April's kind of a funny month because a lot of us are finishing up with our final deadlines. So it's the month of like, hurry, 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 rush, rush, rush. And then like this almost like uncomfortable still as soon as you've hit submit on that final deadline. So we're here. There's still a lot to do, but it's going to look a little bit different. So this week we are going to be talking about, we're actually going to use the what to do when for the month of April to kind of guide us along what you can do. And I was actually just in a school today and the yearbook advisor's like, I have my 2 editors and they're kind of just doing everything, but the book's done. We just need to submit. But I have a bunch of students who don't really have anything to do. And I have 2 students who are doing pretty much the bulk of everything right now. So if you're in a situation like that where you're not quite sure what to do, that's what we're going to talk about right now. So we're going to talk about month 9. This is month of April. And if you'll follow along with me, it says under people and connections, assess next year's staff needs, discuss yearbook production and an estimated ship date with your representative. And then now that the book is complete, plan some fun all staff activities. It's time to celebrate. So you can see that there's a number of things going on this month. So not only are we trying to kind of wrap things up, but we're also trying to celebrate all of the hard work. We're also treading water for just a second before we start preparing for distribution. So as far as assessing next year's staff needs, this is where, and I told my advisor today, talking about next year's needs. If you create a staff manual, and we've talked about this in previous weeks, but if you create a staff manual, it will save you so much time next year because you remember this stuff. It's all fresh right now. There's a lot of stuff right now that you're probably thinking like, oh, we will definitely want to do that again next year. Or some things where you're like, we did it. I'm not proud of it. Let's not do that again. These are all the things that it would be really great if you could write it down, put it down on paper so that you either do it again for sure, or you don't ever do that again. So, the staff manual will definitely save you some time and it'll make your life easier next year for sure. So some of the things that can go in a staff manual, and again, there's a whole video on that, but some of the things that can go in your staff manual would be your, like what kind of thematic elements, what the rules are. Even if you don't have your theme decided for next year, you can talk about, what the general rules for fonts. Maybe you say, all right, well, all of our captions are going to be, you don't even have to say what fonts they are, but our captions are going to be between 8 and 9 point. Our stories, the copy is going to be, between 9 and 10 point. Our index is going to be 8 point. Whatever your rules are that you typically do, put that into your staff manual. If you did something this year and you're like, oh, we're not going to do that again. Like maybe your page numbers are in a funky spot, or maybe this is the 35th book in a row that you did that was green and yellow and you just really want to step out of that next year, put that into your staff manual. And your kids can start brainstorming. Even while the editors are editing and while you're going through proofing pages, your staff, the rest of your staff, if they don't have anything to do, they can go through and have a conversation and talk about what they want their book to look like next year. The second piece under people and connections is to discuss your yearbook production and an estimated ship date with your representative. So we can't give you an actual date, like a rock solid date, until you hit submit on those final pages, until if you're receiving proofs, if you're in design, or until we receive your proofs back, until your book is completely done, we cannot give you an actual rock solid date. So you can wait for that, or you can say, all right, our deadline is this Friday. If we meet our deadline this Friday by 10 p.m. or whatever it is, then when will we receive our books? That's totally fine. And then it's really best if you have that distribution date in your head and you say, okay, we want to distribute on, June 1st or whatever your date is. And then we can always back it up and say, okay, well, if you want to distribute on that date, give yourself a couple days to look over the books, make sure that everything looks good. And then let's back it up the amount of time that we'll need for production. and go that way. So we can definitely get you a pretty good idea, but as far as getting you a solid date, that's not going to happen until you've hit submit. And now that the book is complete, plan some fun all staff activities. It's time to celebrate. As soon as you've hit submit, that's the time. I was joking with my yearbook advisor today. I was like, that's when I typically get my migraines. It's like stress, stress, stress. And then I have like this calm. And then I'm like, migraine. But if you're not like that, then now is the time to celebrate. So once you have that opportunity to just relax, you've seen the confetti, you've had that final, hurrah, then take a moment, take a day, take, whatever time you need in order to really relax and celebrate the fact that you got a book done. And it's really just such an incredible achievement. So take a moment with your staff, thank them. And I used to do this actually in lacrosse. At the end of every practice, we would sit in a circle and we would compliment each other. We'd have a compliment circle. And I know that this sounds like a little, I don't know, too syrupy maybe, but it was really beautiful for us. And we were able to really build up such a strong community by doing this. But we would sit in a circle and the girls would compliment each other. And they'd say, okay, well, I really love how Sienna was catching today. She was on fire. She caught every single pass I sent her. Or, Zoe's shot was super impressive, something like that. So it's nice to do that, especially as soon as you have submitted that final page. Take the time to just say, hey, you guys were amazing. And I'm so proud of all of you. So let's go around and let's talk about some of the things that we really appreciated from the other people in our class, and just make sure that everybody in the group gets a compliment before you're done with that. But it really does. It's a kind of a feel-good moment. Under organization and planning, finalize and archive your production files and images. It's nice to have all of that, save your PDFs and have that as a record for you for later. Whatever you're planning on doing with your images, when you're done with them, if you have a file that you want to save them in, whatever you want to do, now's the time to plan for that. Don't wait until the summer. Don't procrastinate on it, because you really won't want to deal with it later. So we're not quite done yet. Wait until we're done before you really throw in the towel on this. Review staff applications. It's time to start getting ready for next year. So get those staff applications, get a little board together in your class, and kind of go through the applications and decide who should be on your staff and who you're going to invite on board if you're able to do that. Prepare for distribution. I know it feels a little early to do that. You don't really have to, get on this right now. But again, it'll make your life easier once distribution time comes, if you start thinking about it right now. And I have all sorts of ideas. We'll talk about distribution later in the next couple of weeks, because we're not in a huge hurry to talk about that now. But we'll talk about distribution. There are a couple of ways to make that really go smoothly. There are some ways, I've done it a couple ways that have been a nightmare for me, and I've done it a couple of ways that have just reduced my stress and my workload. So I would definitely recommend that you process through that now so that it's smooth when distribution time comes. Send equipment in for repair. If you have any issues with your lenses, if you need to get your cameras cleaned, anything that's not working right now, again, prepare for next year so that you're not scrambling to get equipment fixed, or if you have any issues with your computers, you're not dealing with that next year. Take care of it this year so that next year is flowing smoothly. Make plans for and begin complete backup of page files. We kind of talked about that earlier as far as archiving your pages. Whatever your plan is, do it now. Don't wait until later. Make a list of distribution day supplies, fixtures, and begin gathering. We're going to talk about this in depth, because distribution can either be really easy and fun, or it can be kind of nightmarish. So I want to make sure that your life is easy and that you're not stressing out about this. We will definitely go into distribution in depth in over this month, the course of this month. If you do a spring supplement, finish it up and submit. This is a great project for underclassmen. Your supplements, if you want to add pages to the back of your book to cover the events that happen, like spring events, prom, graduation, those kind of things, you can do that. I would definitely recommend that you at least set up the template so that you can just plunk in the pictures later. But One of the things I really like are the QR codes, and we can talk about those later. We'll talk about supplements and we'll talk about QR codes. But QR codes, you can turn those around in a day. Supplements, they take, they could take a week or two to get to you. So definitely, if you're going to do a supplement though, we need to get on it quickly. Even if you're just building the base, get on it quickly. The next one under editorial and photo is browse magazines and other yearbooks for inspiration. We're going to talk about this too, because when you're browsing yearbooks for inspiration, remember that idea is already several years old. Even if that book just came out this year, you'll still probably be looking at last year's book, which was an idea that came out the year before. So you're already a couple of years behind on your theme. So I'll talk about ways where you can get fresh new ideas too. Meet weekly with supplement editors. This is if you're doing a supplement, and then create the colophon. We talked about the colophon 2 weeks ago. So if you're not sure about your colophon, go back 2 weeks and take a look at that one. It's called Colophon. Book and ad sales and promotion. Hype the book's arrival. Include a photo presentation. So make sure that people know that book is coming out, and make sure that people know that they purchased the book or that they did not purchase the book. So you want to increase your buy rates. People will inevitably scramble to purchase a book at the end thinking that they already had one, or not knowing that it was even a thing. Assess ad sales and rates. Begin next year's ad strategy. We will talk about this also in depth, because I know that there are advisors out there, and I've met a couple recently. I know that there are advisors out there who are not pricing their ads appropriately, and you're losing money on your ads. I will make sure that you don't do that next year. Begin prepping next year's ad sales materials. We'll talk more about that later. Determine who receives complimentary yearbook copies, if any. The office needs to get one, the library needs to get one, your yearbook class needs to get one. But do you have other people in your community who should be receiving a complimentary copy? And when you get down to 4 to 5 sellable books, start an official waiting/standby list. You'll be receiving overruns too, but please don't plan on those. We'll talk about this later. Don't plan on the overruns. You'll probably get between 2 and 25, but what if you don't? So we don't want to sell those before you have them. So staff development. Attend a spring seminar or make plans for a summer workshop. There are summer workshops coming up. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago also. JEA is coming up really soon, and but make plans to do that, or I'm sure that you guys could do one in school, have your rep come in and do some instruction. Evaluate student staff applicants. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Have photographers select their best work for a slideshow to screen during your distribution event. This is really cool. We are also holding a great shot contest, which is for the best photography out there. So look around for contests. It doesn't have to be with your publisher. It could be with any publisher, but there are contests out there. Your photographers are incredible. Take advantage of that. Let the kids submit their photos and see what happens. Have outgoing editors write job descriptions and letters to next year's leaders. Put this in your staff manual. It's a really great idea. Let's be prepared for next year. And then send thank yous to all who supported you this year. Handwritten is always best. I love this. Colophons are also another great way. And I feel like the colophon is almost more impactful because it's printed work and people purchase it and it's in everybody's hands. But to say thank you in a colophon is super, super special. But then also a handwritten thank you card is so special. I just received one the other day and it just melted my heart. It was from my yearbook staff, and it means the world to me, and it means the world to people to have a handwritten card. And I think it's because we just don't do that much anymore. So much better than an email. Anyway, that was a long one. Sorry for it being lengthy, but we're going to go into depth on all of these things because this is the time to really focus and make sure that you set a solid foundation for next year's book. And next year's going to be even more smooth than this year. So anyway, good luck, you guys. I'll look forward to talking to you guys over the next couple of weeks about all the things that you can do to make your life easier. Bye.